Welcome back to the Rogue Trader podcast with me, Nick Leeson. Today I'm joined by Jason Sen, so we'll be talking markets as usual. Probably talk about a couple of different things, bit of advice, more so from Jason than me, the way I'm feeling and the way the markets are treating me at the moment. I think last week I had 3 disastrous days to start the week, and then managed to turn it around on the last 2 days. It's not the way I wanted it to be, and it was definitely a roller coaster of a ride. And this week started off fairly similar, to be honest with you. But I suppose one of the things that I'm sure a lot of retail traders think about when they see markets like this, obviously there's a lot of opportunity, but there's, a serious amount of risk as well. So what would you do with your positions, Jason? I know a lot of people out there say that they trade smaller lots. Some people widen the stop. Some people keep their stops fairly tight. And I saw a comment this morning about you might as well give your money to charity in the current markets if your stops are too tight, because you're going to get triggered all of the time. And there's just been some massive swings. So just to start off with a piece of advice, what would you recommend that you do in those sort of markets? Because they are, these are, I'm not going to say unprecedented, because we've seen things like this in the past in different markets. But for gold, it's a very, very dangerous market at the moment.
Yeah, it sure is. Moving a couple of percent in a short period of time, that's $100 these days. So, yeah, well, you know what you're supposed to do in these markets, don't you? You're supposed to not trade. You're supposed to step back and wait for things to get back to normal, and a market that you actually understand. But of course, we can't resist it, can we, as traders? The opportunities are all over the place. So you're right. You've got to cut your size down. You've got to widen your stops, and you've got to take a profit when it's presented.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest thing to do. Like sometimes when a profit does present itself, you try to take it. The market's moved already. I mean, some of the slippage and the short, sharp movements that you're moving in gold are just are scary. Like sometimes you blink and it's gone $5-6 in one direction, and you're already kicking yourself at what could have been. I suppose that's the way that I've been feeling for the last couple of weeks, anyway.
Yeah, it's all a gamble. I had a trade on yesterday. I tried to buy the low, missed it, got stopped. Market turned around, went through the roof. This morning I tried shorting it. Got stopped. It's continued going up. So it's just a gamble at the moment.
Yeah, I think that word "stop" is the one that's most often used at the moment. But yeah, look, I hope everybody has a great deal of luck with it. But it's it is very, very difficult. I was on my way to the UK last week, and some guys that I do a bit of work with in Dubai from time to time, they wanted a bit of a call because they were getting scared about conditions, and they're a minor liquidity provider, and that a lot of the liquidity providers were finding difficulties last Thursday, Friday, the smaller guys, and they were trying to offload their positions to one of the prime brokers. The prime brokers didn't really want them either, and it was. It had the potential to really unravel that story. But then gold popped up. I think at the time gold was trading 5,000, just shy of $5,600. And then, over the course of Friday, we're almost down $1,100 from that point to where we were trading. And now it's on its way back up. So, I think certainly for the gold market, their markets or the moves that we're seeing are moves that have just not been seen before. In that regard, just go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think, yeah, you're right, and I think it's going to continue.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any end to it. There's certainly no end to it today either. Like you say, 2-3% moves in, very, very quick time. And if you're on the wrong side of it, it gets very, very dangerous, very, very quick. Just a couple of different stories before we get on to talking about gold and Bitcoin from an analysis perspective and what you think the market's going to do going forward from here. I had a phone call and it was just one of those things as well. Like everybody knows my history and everything that went on at Barings. But I had a phone call last week from somebody at Bloomberg looking for a couple of comments about somebody that I worked with many years ago in Japan. I was in Singapore. They were based in Japan, and they were they're fairly fresh out of the American university system at the time, and they were working down in Osaka, wanted to learn the Japanese language. Had a good sporting career in the university system as well. But he was my order filler in Osaka. And I just, it's like a compare and contrast thing. So this guy's done very, very well over the years. He's the subject of a couple of books now that have been written about him. And I think he's been tearing the Japanese market up for the last couple of years. So he's still based in Japan, doing very, very well. I won't mention his name on here, but some people may know who I'm referring to. But he was on the other end of the squawk box to me. So like I was shouting the orders down the squawk box into Osaka, and he was executing the orders. But anyway, he's got 50 billion pounds under management now. Done very, very well for himself. But there's a few of those stories going back to my time at Barings, like the guy who I used to work for on the desk when I was at London. He's now a member of the Reform Party. Every chance he'll be the next Chancellor of the Exchequer if Reform get in, and he makes up with Nigel Farage. He's fallen out with him a few times, but there's a few stories like that. And as I've said a few times here, I think like certain decisions that I've made or paths that I've taken have been the complete opposite of some of the other people. You notwithstanding that, I suppose, as well, Jason. I remember when we were in. With a couple of friends celebrating in London somewhere. I think it was a TGI's. I think we mentioned it once before. That was many, many moons ago, and that was a Barings party that I was going to that evening as well. I'm the only one who ended up in jail. So the moral of the story is, don't take advice from me. Take advice from Jason and the people that are around me. So anyway, look, if we have a look at gold, Jason, if that's good for you now, and just what you see within that market, a crazy market.
Okay, Nick. So this screen just to the right here is the daily chart for, actually that's Bitcoin. So let's go back to gold. We'll have a look at Bitcoin in a minute, I think. Okay, so there's the big drop on the daily chart. This was where I was getting in yesterday, around the 45.20 area. Nice confluence of fibs. We had the 50-day moving average. I thought, yeah, that'll hold it, but it didn't. We went a little bit further. We went down to these trend lines and we've bounced. I think we're going to consolidate. I think we're going to move sideways for a bit, but it's going to be volatile and it's going to be difficult. I will struggle in these conditions, to be honest. You can see we're just approaching a fib level around 49.42. So that could be some resistance for today. We'll have to see.
I think it probably has been already, hasn't it? I think we probably got there. We pulled back to about 4,900, and then it's trying to push back to those sort of levels. It looks like it was.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We're trading 49. Yeah, well, 49.17-ish we are at the moment. So we're $30 away from that level. You're right.
Yeah. All right. And Bitcoin's gone through some key levels as well, hasn't it? A lot of people were talking about 80,000. It's easily gone through that. Some support levels around 73 I've heard people mentioning as well, but you're really the oracle on this, so let's see what you think.
We've got a trend line going back to September 23. That was broken, along with another trend line going back to here, which was November of last year. So this was my big support area, and as you can see, it really held just above the 38.2% fib, around 84,000. I thought we could have a good go to the upside, but we didn't. So this turned out really to be a bear flag pattern. And once the trend lines were broken, moved to the downside, which should be equivalent to the width of the flag at least. And so we've certainly done that. I think we could probably test the 50% fib around 71,000. I think that's on the cards. To me, that's not the strongest support in the world, but it is a 50% fib, and it does tie in with these swing highs that we had here around the beginning of 2024. So who knows? Maybe people will see that as a support level. Anyway, that's, for me, the next key level.
Okay. All right. Well, look, so Bitcoin, so the trends for you in gold, is it still an uptrend, or it's just that consolidation? Still an uptrend. And Bitcoin, is that reverse now?
No, Bitcoin's still a longer term uptrend. Sorry, I've just switched to gold actually. But, when you look at it if I put this on a weekly chart, although it felt like gold had this enormous crash, you put it on a weekly chart going back to 2021, and it's nothing really, is it? You know, just shows how gold really just took off, and I guess it had to correct from such a fast move. But we've only retraced a quarter of the move.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So look, the advice in these dangerous markets is really just to step aside and let the market calm down. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen anytime soon. We don't think.
Not with me, not with you.
No. And I'm certainly silly enough to try and get involved every day. So, the roller coaster will continue for some time to come. Thank you very much, Jason. We'll see you again soon. And thank you very much for that analysis today. Take care.
Cheers, Nick. Good to chat.
Cheers, mate.